Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Sabko mera namaste, sat sri akal and salam. My name is Viren and this is my vlogging channel. Today's video is going to be about Australian licensing and how do we do the procedures and what type of license are available in Australia. I'm going to go a bit in detail. So first thing is a disclaimer. The video I'm making today is completely based on my own experience. I've not done any kind of coaching or any kind of training for it, and what I've experienced myself in my past 4 years or 5 years in Australia, I'm going to share with you guys and enlighten you. Things have changed a lot with the licensing procedures, and it might even change in the coming time. So I would recommend that not only going through my video, but when you come to Australia, just go through the local government websites for the licensing procedure. Today I'm going to share my experience of licensing procedure in Victoria as well as in NSW. Okay, now there is going to be two types of licenses. People have their own overseas license and people who come to Australia and make their own license for the first time. Or if you are carrying your own overseas license from India or your home country, so you can basically give a hazard perception test and give a practical driving test and get the licensing done. And another thing is you should at least have 3 or more years of time period on your overseas license. If you're applying for a new license in Australia, it's a bit of a long procedure. You've got to give 3 tests. That's the learner's test, the hazard perception test, and another one is the practical test. And after that, you're gonna go on your Ls, P1s, P2s, and after that, you're gonna get an unrestricted license. So the procedure for getting your own license in Australia is kind of a bit lengthy. So let's go into detail about licensing right now. Okay, before getting into more detail of the video, I would like to mention first and foremost is that road rules in Australia are way different than if people coming from India, especially for them, it's very different. I know in India the rules are a bit overrated, but yeah, in Australia the road rules are really mandatory and people have to follow them, and everyone follows over here in Australia. And there have been some incidents in past where because of some misunderstanding or some people do not have much knowledge about the road rules, they start driving once they come to Australia, and which leads to small accidents or so. And understanding the road rules is really important, because here if there's a 60 zone, everyone drives in a 60 zone, and how you can get to know about the road rules is really simple. If you know someone who's got an Australian license, just sit beside them. You can experience the whole road rules and see how people drive in Australia. And also the another thing is, if you sit on public buses, you can sit in the front seat just beside the driver, and you can even see how the driver does it, how he drives around, and how he takes a left turn or a right turn or a hook turn, and whom does he wait for, whom does he not wait for, because there are lots of major and minor rules which you need to follow here in Australia, and which will keep you as well as the person in front of you or behind you safe at the same time. Let's get into the first part of the video, which is about tests. We got different types of tests before you give the main practical exam. The first one is a standard learner's test, which is the computer aided test. It's a very basic kind of test. It's not that difficult. You need to clear it, obviously, to get to the next stage. So you can just go into Vic Roads or Service NSW, book yourself a date and test. It just takes like around 10 minutes or 20 minutes. They'll ask you like 25 questions or something, and you gotta score more than 80% or 90% in this whole test. After you give the learner's test, you are eligible to get a learner's license, and after completing that, you can give a hazard perception test. Now, a hazard perception test is also computer aided. This test is conducted just to see how you respond to any hazard on the road. First of all, you have to be aware of the hazard, and secondly, you have to know when to respond about the hazard. So that's the main idea about this test. Again, this test is not difficult. To practice for the hazard perception test, there are small mock tests available on Vic Roads website, as well as other third-party websites or Service NSW websites as well. Okay, now finally, once you're done with your learner's test and hazard perception test, you have a time period of a week or a week. I think so. You have to wait for a week, and you can book yourself into a practical driving test. That's the final test. But before booking yourself into a driving test, I would recommend that take few practice sessions with an experienced driver or a driving school. I have taken myself 3 classes and it was really helpful because certain rules on the road we are not familiar with, like there are head checks, there are give way signs, you got to stop on the stop sign, then there are certain lines on the road you should not cross over. In India we have dividers which differentiate between 2 opposite direction roads, but in Australia there are only lines sometimes, like double lines, which you're not supposed to cross. Some people do not know about it and they tend to cross it. So that becomes an issue and you can lead yourself into an accident. So getting yourself into a few practice sessions with professional driver will help you understand how to drive on the road and what an instructor in the exam is going to expect from you. Okay, once you're done with the practice sessions with the professional driver, you can book yourself into a test date and just give the test. Once you clear it, you have your full license. Okay, once you clear your final practical driving test, if you have an overseas license and you want to convert it, you can directly get your full license. But if you're applying for a license first time in Australia without holding an overseas license, you have to go through the whole length, that is the Ls, the P1s, the P2s, and then the unrestricted license. So first is the learner's license. On learner's license, you have a speed restriction of 90, and you have to have a person who has an unrestricted license with you all the time when you're driving the car, and you have to put an L plate on the car whenever you're driving. Another thing is, if you're below 25 years of age, you have to maintain at least 100 hours of driving in a logbook. Another thing is, these rules keep changing, and you have to just, when you come to Australia for the first time, maybe this year or next year, you have to just go onto the website and check once before getting your Ls. Now the L plates are done. Let's move on to P1s, that is the probationary license 1 or the red Ps. In the probationary license, you have to hold a red P plate on your car whenever you drive. On this license, you have one benefit that you don't need to have a person in the car always who has an unrestricted license, which was mandatory on L plates. And another thing is, you have to maintain a speed limit of 90. Even in a zone of 110, you cannot drive above 90 kilometers per hour, because if you cross that speed limit and you're caught, you have only 4 demerit points on your red piece and the green piece. And if you lose those demerit points, there's a chances that the police authority, whoever gets hold of you, might suspend your license. Once you're done with your red piece, you move on to your green piece automatically. So now moving on to the green P, which is actually the P2, the probationary license 2, have to hold a green P plate on your car whenever you drive. Another benefit is that you can drive up to 100 kilometers per hour, and that's your speed limit. In 110 zone, you have to still maintain 100 kilometers per hour speed limit, still having the 4 demerit points, and that's how it goes. Every state has different rules. This is just about New South Wales and Victoria, which I've been to and I know about these rules. Once your P2s are completed, your license will automatically get converted into an unrestricted license, and you will have 12 demerit points on them after that. That does not mean you have the chance to break the rules whenever you want. Just to be on the safer side, you have to always follow the road rules in Australia. I've been saying that in the beginning of the video, and I'm going to keep saying throughout the video. The final verdict is that you've got to hold 3 years of probationary license after you finish your Ls. After you finish the probationary license, you get an unrestricted license and you're free to drive your vehicle wherever you like. On the highways, it's easily you can maintain 110 kilometers per hour speed limit. That's the Australia's maximum highway limit. I would like to share my experience about motorbike licensing because many people who come from overseas to Australia, they are very much interested in motorbike culture over here. I have done my motorbike licensing in Victoria, so I can tell you and explain you how it was done over there. I'm not sure about NSW. I think it should be pretty much similar to Victoria. In Victoria, there was a third-party company which was doing all the procedures for Vic Roads, which was called Stay Upright. When you enter Stay Upright, you have to follow basic few steps to get yourself cleared for the final practical test. So first thing is a 2-day practice session, after which you will have a learner's test in the same 2 days, and you'll be eligible to drive on an L plate on your motorbike. So during those first 2 days of the practice session, they will teach you how to maneuver the motorbike in the practice range itself, which is quite huge, and you learn to drive on slow speeds, like really slow, around 5 kilometers per hour, and how to bend during curbs, how to enter and exit the curb, they teach you all those stuff and how to hold on to your motorbike really well, because the Australian weather conditions are really extreme sometimes. Another thing is you should be really aware that cars around you have a high tendency to miss you in their mirrors. If you follow the basic rules, you can keep yourself safe and understand how the motorbike works on a highway or how a motorbike works on a normal street road. Maintaining a good distance from people, that's how you can understand that what the driver in front of you or behind you is going to maneuver his car which way. So that's how you're going to practice, and that's what they teach you in that 2 days practice session, how to keep yourself alive on the road. After you complete those 2 days of practice session, you get a learner's license for 3 months. You get your own motorbike, practice on that motorbike for 3 months, and you have to do a check ride before getting into a proper practical final test. The check ride is again just a 1-day practice session course, just to see how you have been practicing throughout those 3 months. Just a tip before you go for a check ride. So after check ride, you're supposed to wait a month and then apply for a test. So what people do is, after 2 months of learners, you can apply for a check ride. After you're done with your check ride, 1 month later, you can apply for a practical test. That's the time when your 3 months learners period is completed, as well as your check ride is also done in the same time. That's how people manage it and get their license like really soon, or else you have to wait for 4 months. And on your final practical test, it's going to be a one-on-one experience where the instructor will be on a motorbike behind you, and you can get your own motorbike or you can get it from Stay Upright. They have at 125cc motorbikes with them. You can opt for that as well. And that's how you can get your motorbike license done. That was the basic procedure how you get a motorbike license in Victoria. Yes, you have to do you are doing your learner's test in Stay Upright, but you have to do a hazard perception test in Vic Roads. You have to go over there and do your hazard perception test. So basically, if you do your hazard perception test once, it works for your cars as well as it works for your motorbike at the same time. People who are coming from India and hold a motorbike license for more than 3 years, they can also opt for this choice where you can convert your motorbike license directly into full license. But I think so you still have to go through the 2 days practice session. Just get it right from the Stay Upright people. You can contact them directly on their website. They're really nice, or you can directly go to the office and talk to them. They're really nice people, and the practice sessions hold like 6 to 7 people at a time, so it's not too crowded, and instructor gives personal attention to each and every person. This is all about the motorbike and the car license in Australia, and I think the video ends over here today, and I hope I was able to share important knowledge about both the licenses. People are interested in truck licenses as well as forklift licenses, which are really good jobs in Australia as well, and they are high in demand, but I do not have much experience with them, so I'm not going to share anything about them. But obviously there are these licenses available, and you can go on to Vic Roads or Service LSW. Guys, so this was the video about licensing about motorbikes and cars, and I'm just gonna end my video over here today, and hope you guys like this video. Please do like, share and subscribe these videos from my channel, so that people who come to Australia for the first time, they can also get some knowledge about it. And all of these videos are my personal experience, and I just share whatever I'm going through in day-to-day life, and I've not taken any advice from anyone or anything else. I've just experienced them on my own, and that's how I've come here all the way. So I hope you really like this video, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.